I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Starting from scratch, I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. What do you think that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Starting from scratch, I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we begin the playoffs for Season 2 of the NNSCRA Duracell Ultra Lite Series. First time we ever have had a postseason for the Lite Series, if you will, as last year we didn't have a playoff system. It was basically whoever accumulated the most points at the conclusion of the 20 races would end up being declared the champion. Of course, that was Eric Monaco. First time that we implement a 7-race playoff system. We're going to have 2 elimination races where we will take our now original 10 drivers and we will have 4 drivers by the time we get to Michigan to battle for the title. What a track for us to kick these playoffs off at, though. I mean, good grief. Road America, a challenging road course, a lot of areas where you can slip up. You talk about a game-changing racetrack that could easily, in a sense, determine who the next drivers will be to transfer into the next round of the playoffs. With some other tough tracks on the horizon, look any further than Road America. This is going to be the 3rd road course stop of the season here for these Lite Series drivers, and it is the last time they will have to deal with the rights and lefts. On the pole position for this race is going to be Autumn Brooks. The last time Autumn started on the front row at a road course, it was a few weeks ago at Watkins Glen, where she ended up leading the entire 32-lap event en route to her first Lite Series victory, looking for her 2nd win, which would join her with Roberto Crown Jr., Cam Wright Jr., and Juan Garcia, currently here in Season 2. The tough thing for Autumn Brooks, though, is last time out at Auto Club Speedway, she just barely missed out on a playoff spot via a wildcard position. Autumn Brooks coming into this race in the 11th position in the point standings. That was behind 3 other drivers that ended up finishing out the regular season point standings 8th, 9th, and 10th that all had victories. So Autumn Brooks was the first driver out, despite the fact having a rather consistent season. So now the pressure, in a sense, is off of driver number 60. They don't have to really worry about points. They don't have to worry about the championship. They can go out there, be aggressive, and try and end out the season with as many checkered flags as possible. There's very little pressure to the driver that starts on the outside of the front row either, that being Reggie Fogelman. The real work begins for him tomorrow afternoon as he's battling in the playoffs on the Cup side. However, opportunity here for Reggie Fogelman out of that all-star car via Trackhouse Racing to be able to get a little bit more of extra experience, a little bit of extra laps in preparation for tomorrow's playoff race. And a good starting track position here as well. We ended up having last week at Gateway, Eric Monaco go to victory lane on the Cup side, making him the first driver to net both a Lights and a Cup Series victory in his career. Now that the bar has been set, Reggie Fogelman would look to do the same, as he is a former multi-time winner in the Cup Series, including this season, but would love to add a Lite Series victory to his resume. And then how about our playoff contenders? Well, you don't have to look too far to find some of them starting up at the front, as they comprise both cars in the second row. Skylar Taylor, our winner from Daytona. He is 8th in the playoff standings coming into this one, is the highest starting of the playoff contenders, and he's going to be alongside of Cam Wright Jr., who is currently 2nd in the playoff standings, one of 3 multi-time winners on the season as we documented. He is 15 points out of the points lead, 2-time winner this season at both Darlington and North Wilkesboro. So looking to be a 3-time winner here. And at a road course, specifically this road course, track position is key. Number of playoff contenders have managed to qualify well. Number of them are starting deep in the field. We'll have to see if pit strategy comes into play and those drivers can work their way forward, because the last thing you want to do with 2 more races here in this first round being Nashville Superspeedway and Dover, you do not want to go into either of those races at a points deficit. We'll be talking a lot about the cut line, which is 7th in the points, in order to advance into the next round. And also bear this in mind, if any of our 10 playoff drivers go to victory lane here today, that's an automatic lock into the next round of this postseason. We'll follow all those storylines and more as we prepare for 22 circuits around Road America, but let's now head down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Take a look on the right side of your screen. You will see your 31 driver starting lineup for this afternoon's race. A lot of Cup Series regulars taking part in this one this afternoon. No surprise, getting that little bit of extra experience in preparation for tomorrow's race. I believe 3 drivers, including Reggie Fogelman, all in the playoffs on the Cup side. Jack Mitchell also in the field, as is Daniel Voiles. You've also got Anthony McCrory and Dylan Young in this field. Those 2 are not in the playoffs on the Cup side, but still a little bit of extra track time in preparation for tomorrow. Playoff standings, this is what they look like, with this being the first race of the postseason at the conclusion of our last regular season race at Auto Club Speedway. Roberto Crown Jr. won the regular season championship, so he netted an extra 15 bonus points. That has him at the top of the scoring pylon, 15 points over a couple of multi-time winners this season, Cam Wright Jr., and most recently Juan Garcia, who got his 2nd win in that regular season finale at Auto Club. Colin Grace currently sits in the 4th seed with 1 victory. And just to let everybody know, as far as the seeding order is concerned for your one-time winners, they all would technically be tied in the points, but they order them in order of their average finishing position. The best average finishing position gets the higher seed. So Colin Grace, who has an 11.7 average finishing position, would have the 4th seed. Jordan Anderson would be 5th. Cody Majoric in 6th. 7th for Aubrey Powell, and 8th for Skylar Taylor. They are all respectively 20 points out of the points lead. And then 2 drivers that pointed their way into the playoffs were not able to rely on a victory, but were in the top 7 in overall standings at the regular season's conclusion, would be Kyle Langland and Eli Bright. Those 2 are 25 points out respectively. And we expected Eli Bright to be a contender here, as he had a strong outing, finishing in the top 10 back at Sonoma, had another strong race car back at Watkins Glen, but it just did not see the qualifying effort we expected here yesterday. Out of that 20 machine, he's going to start pretty deep in the field, as will a number of other playoff contenders, and we will keep track of their progress during the course of this race. Drivers making their way around the sweeping right-hander as they will head to one of 3 rather lengthy straightaways where they'll carry a ton of speed. This here heading into Kettle Bottoms, which will set them up for one of the toughest, well, maybe one of the 2 toughest corners here at Road America, Canada Corner. Probably the other one would be the heavy braking zone left-hander known as the Moraine Sweep. That'd be turn 5. It's where maybe most of our passes are going to take place in this race as well. One thing that I also need to point out is that it's unlikely that we're going to have a full course yellow unless the track gets completely blockaded. For the most part, this is a rather spacious road course to be able to allow you to set up and complete passes. With that being said, expect pit road to play a huge factor into the outcome of this race. 22 laps in total this afternoon, and the fuel window is somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 12 laps, depending on how much you're able to save. So that is right on the halfway point. It will be interesting to see if these drivers can make it on one stop, or will we have a scenario where drivers could find themselves on fumes coming to the checkered flag. Notice as they make their way out of the final corner, they're going to climb the hill to the start-finish line. So if you're out of fuel, it's going to be very difficult to ascend up this hill to get to that checkers. So that's something we'll have to keep track of here during the course of this race for sure. You saw the pace car make the right-hand turn up the hill for pit road. Autumn Brooks, her second pole on the season, going to lead us down here on the front straightaway. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and for the first time, the playoffs begin here in the Ultra Light Series. They'll head for turn number 1. Already a couple of drivers peeking out 3 wide. Wes McCoy, Cody Majork a little further back. Brooks takes the top position. They'll be side by side for second with Skylar Taylor and Reggie Fogelman. Great launch there for the Judas Priest Mazda. Looks like Mazdas will be 1-2. Taylor going to clear for the runner-up spot. Now Cam Wright Jr. will look to drivers left, heading down towards the Moraine sweep here. On Cup Series regular Reggie Fogelman. Wes McCoy looking on. Look at him fan out further back there. Jack Mitchell trying to take a look there on Daniel Voiles as he battles with Ralph Mason. Fogelman will clear into 4th. McCoy slams the door on Daniel Voiles. He'll take 5th. Voiles now back to 6th, then Mitchell, Mason, and Colin Grace. Autumn Brooks already opening up, nearly 8 to 9 car lengths back to fellow Mazda Skylar Taylor out of ST Racing. Currently the highest running to the playoff drivers. Right behind him, though, is Cam Wright Jr. in 3rd. And then you would have to drop all the way back to Colin Grace, who right now is in, I believe, the 7th or 8th position as they currently run in the 27 car. Field starting to spread out a bit here. Is a little double wide. Ooh, Cody Majorek missed the braking zone there, as now Roberto Crowd Jr. gets a little loose off of Canada corner. Majorek, I think, was looking for a move there around Dylan Young, misjudged it and went very wide. Now the fortunate thing for a number of these drivers that we're probably going to see during the course of this race is if we were at the older version of Road America, turn 5, Canada corner, I believe that also turn 7, all have the runoff area now. Original version, they wouldn't have that. They would actually have gravel. As a matter of fact, off here in this this first corner, if you look off to the side there, you see that dark gray runoff. There would have been gravel there as well, which leaves very little room for mistake. You make a little bit of a slip up, though, here at this version of Road America. You've got a good chance of being able to at least recover the race car. You'll probably lose some track position, probably lose some spots, but it's better than being stuck in the gravel trap and finding yourself maybe going a lap down, having to call a tow back to pit lane. Look at Kyle Langland, who's going to take a look on Cole Koibe going into turn 5. Can't quite make it stick. Behind them, Michael Turner in a battle with Dylan Young. Looks like Turner will hang on to the spot. Missed the battle for 14th with Cody Majorek looking on. Points leader Roberto Crowd Jr. right now in the 17th spot, just ahead of Anthony McCrory. His teammate a couple cars behind him in Juan Garcia. Trackhouse Racing has all 3 of their full-time Lights cars in the playoffs, with Roberto Crowd Jr., Juan Garcia, and Eli Bright. 4 combined victories for the organization here in Season 2. Autumn Brooks continues to lead, and her teammate Ralph Mason currently holding down a spot inside of the top 10. Last time by scored in 9th. Ralph Mason falls into that category of road course ace. We saw him earlier on this afternoon attempt to qualify for the Cup Series event, looking for his first start of the season. Came up just short, as did a number of other road course specialists. Andrew Miller was looking to make his first start of the season. He was unable to transfer as well. As Cole Koibe, this is going to be, I believe, for 10th position, looking on Chris Dollerton. Showed the nose, but isn't going to stay to the inside there. Tucks back in line in P11. Further up, Cam Wright Jr. Not sure if he was battling to get around Reggie Fogelman or if he was trying to make a move on Skylar Taylor, but Fogelman had to lift there off the exit of turn 2. That now opens up the door for Wes McCoy to look to driver's right. This would be for 4th place. McCoy going to try and swing around the outside here as they climb the hill for turn 6. Still side by side between these two. Inside line advantage should go to Fogelman here, but McCoy will stay alongside. Now he'll have the advantage into the right-hander. Fogelman trying to swing around the outside and clear. Still can't do it. We're still deadlocked for P4. Using that runoff there is Wes McCoy. As they make their way around the carousel. Daniel Voiles looking on in the 23 at this great battle that now appears to have settled itself out. Fogelman will keep the spot. Jack Mitchell, I believe, just completed a pass there on Colin Grace, moving into the 7th spot. Autumn Brooks continues to lead. Let's drop to the back of the field and check in on some of our playoff contenders that did not qualify well here yesterday. Eli Bright started from the 23rd spot, and he has lost 6 positions since the drop of the green flag, now mired back in 29th. Both Eli Bright and Kyle Langland had to point their way into this playoff system. And so therefore, with not having any wins, they didn't get any bonus points. Both drivers starting out with 1,000 points each. And that put them both at the 9th and 10th seed respectively as a result. And now for Eli Bright, already starting the playoffs below the cut line, this is not what he needs. So if we're looking at drivers that are going to be trying to utilize pit road to gain track position, this would obviously be one of those drivers. Another driver also would be Aubrey Powell. Aubrey started this race from 27th, has picked up a couple of spots up to 25th, so making progress, but was another driver who obviously did not qualify well and subsequently is currently not running well. Another driver that will be relying on pit road strategy as things get wadded up there with Mike Tellier, Aubrey Powell, Craig Batson, and others. Both of the Joanna Atwood Motorsports drivers made the playoffs this season, Cody Majorek and Jordan Anderson. But right now, Jordan Anderson is in 23rd after starting 21st. So another driver that is looking to rely on either long run speed or pit road strategy to gain some track position. Anderson coming into this one in the 5th seed. One of our 5 one-time winners here on the season. And we saw Juan Garcia a little bit earlier. 19 for the 19 after he started from 20th. So he's picked up 1 spot since the start of this race. Of course, coming off the momentum a couple of weeks ago of his 2nd victory on the season in the regular season finale at Auto Club. Battle on here for 13th. Michael Turner and Brody Kupski going at it. Dylan Young looking on. It'll stack him up double wide with Cody Majork taking a peek there. Oh, contact made as Turner's going to muscle his way on by for that 13th spot. Great battle going on here. Let's go on board with the Hooters Ford Mustang of Dylan Young as he'll take us for a lap around Road America. Appreciate Dylan Young allowing us to ride on board. See just how technical this racetrack is. I mean, maybe the biggest surprising thing listening to that engine is just how much off the throttle time there is, feathering the throttle around just about every single corner. As we were on board with him, there was a great battle that was behind him here with Dave Smith, Roberto Crown Jr., Juan Garcia, Anthony McCrory. They were stacked up double wide, a couple of rows deep. Dave Smith just completed a pass right there on the 18 of Roberto Crown Jr., so move him to 17th. McCrory is dropped back now to 19th. As Juan Garcia under fire from Jackson Haywood, who's got his KB Racing Enterprises teammate Cat Batson just behind him. Something I noticed as well with that onboard, everybody is still, for the most part, up each other's gearboxes, able to be in these battles all the way through the field. As Roberto Crown Jr. very slow there through the right-hander there. That was turn 7. But something I have observed is, you know, there are these intermittent battles all the way through the field. Nobody has really gotten away from anybody else. I mean, you look right here, nose to tail with Mason and Dollarton. Colin Brace not too far up ahead. The only one that's really on an island of their own is Autumn Brooks, who is, you can see, way out in front. Last time by scoring said about 4.5 seconds to the good over Skylar Taylor. And with us now, if the numbers are to be believed, halfway through a fuel run, pit road is going to split the field up. It is going to spread them out. And it is going to make lap times all the more important. And I mean consistent lap times. right now it's kind of hard to get a reading on if there is any tire fall off, with the fact that most everybody from Taylor on back is dealing with some type of dirty air. They're dealing with somebody else's braking zone, so that is of course affecting the lap times that they are putting down. If we kind of utilize Autumn Brooks as a measuring stick, since she has no traffic in front or behind and she is just concentrating on hitting her marks, that might be the best way to figure out if there is indeed tire fall off or not. Her last time by, she ran a 2:14.7, which is 0.7 of a second slower than her fastest lap currently. This most recent lap, however, she ran a 2:15.401, which would be another 0.7 slower than her previous lap and nearly 1.4 seconds slower than her fastest lap. So if the question is there time to be gained on maybe an undercut strategy on pit road, I think right now the answer would be yes. Is there enough time to be gained to warrant running the risk of maybe being a couple laps short on fuel on making just one pit stop? I'm not certain about that. About 1.5 seconds to gain. You look at some of these battles back there, maybe if you're around 6th through 15th, that might be a gamble you're willing to take to try and move up into the top 10. But if you're up here at the front, I'm not necessarily certain you would play into that type of a strategy. The target lap for these drivers is going to be completion of lap 11. That way you know that you have been able to make it to exactly halfway, and if you get the thing full of fuel, you should be able to make it to the checkers. Anybody that pits prior to that, I would say even coming to the conclusion of lap 10 onto lap 11, I would be a little bit concerned about. And here we go, Autumn Brooks is coming to pit lane. So remember I mentioned about the fact that the fuel window was 10 to 12 laps projected? Remember, this is CTS physics here for the Lite series, so there is a greater fuel consumption than there would be with Cup or even GNS physics. So it looks like we can now, in a sense, abbreviate that 10 to 12 lap window, and we can now extend, or we can abbreviate it to around 7 to 9 laps, which means nobody is going to be able to make it on one stop. We will have to have at least a 2-stop race. And even then, I think it's going to be close, because Autumn Brooks came to pit road at the conclusion of lap 7. If 7 laps is all you can do on a tank of fuel, that's putting these drivers projected 1 lap shy of making it to the finish on a 2-stop strategy. Whereas you look at some of these other drivers that stay out the extra lap, like Jack Mitchell, Colin Grace, Cole Coybe, if they can complete this 8th lap, then that would allow them, to split the final run into 7 laps, which we know they definitely can make. So I like this strategy of stretching it the extra lap on the first go-round of the cycle of pit stops. At least giving yourself a little bit more of a guarantee that you'd be able to reach the conclusion. Now, not saying that it's impossible for the drivers that just pitted to be able to make it. What they would then be trying to do is trying to save the extra lap, that 8th lap on a run on this second stint after this pit stop cycle. I don't know if you necessarily would want to back your pace down enough after the second pit stop to try and save that 8th lap that you'd be lacking. So I think that most drivers would be looking to save that 8th lap here on this second third of the race. Checking here, looks like 7 drivers went the extra lap. Jackson Haywood, last time house winner Juan Garcia, Craig Batson, and David Dixon. And then Autumn Brooks first off of pit road. Of the drivers that pit, should inherit the race lead when these 7 drivers make the dive onto pit lane, which I believe is going to be this lap. Jack Mitchell, by the way, did not lead this most recent lap. Autumn Brooks led it on pit lane. We'll have to see if Jack Mitchell has a pit stall past the start-finish line to lead this lap. Though it wouldn't make any difference in terms of the point standings, as Jack does not run for the Lite Series Championship, so he does not get paid out any Lite Series points. Looks like all 7 drivers that stayed out the extra lap are coming to pit road this time. Autumn Brooks is going to make her way out of the final corner and up the hill. And Mitchell did lead that lap on pit lane, but he will now turn the race lead over to the 60. Now, a lot of drivers came to pit road there at the completion of lap 7, so unless they had a lightning quick pit stop, unlikely that we're going to see a lot of our top 10 runners in any different positioning in the running order than they were when the pit stop cycle began. We'll have to wait and see. Also going to be interested to see what the gap is from Autumn Brooks back to second place. It was about 4.5 seconds before she dove onto pit lane. Looks like that interval may have gotten eaten into just a little bit here. We'll have to wait for official scoring to find that out. Skylar Taylor does cycle into second place. Cam Wright Jr. under fire for third. Chris Dollerton may very well have been a driver that was able to gain on pit road, as he is now up into the 3rd spot. You saw him just complete that pass through the Moraine sweep on Cam Wright Jr., so move him up to the podium. Wes McCoy is now in 5th spot. Jack Mitchell, who will have 1 lap fresher tires than the top 5 ahead of him, would cycle to 6th. Colin Grace right now in 7th. 8th position, Ralph Mason. Reggie Fogelman, starting the outside of the front row, would be 9th. And Kyle Langland, playoff driver, currently would be holding down the final spot inside of the top 10. We'll wait until they make their way around to the start-finish line before we tell you where all 10 of your playoff contenders are currently at after this first cycle of green flag pit stops. One of 2 guaranteed pit stops these drivers will now have to make, and for some drivers they may have to concern themselves with maybe making a 3rd in the closing stages of this race, depending on how much they're able to save during this stint from our first pit stop to our upcoming 2nd pit stop. Dollerton is on the move. We have not seen drivers really making passes in this quick succession, and Dollerton has got apparently a very good car here. Whatever adjustment they just made on that pit stop, it has worked. He made the pass in turn 5 on Cam Wright Jr. to take 3rd place. He just made the pass on Skylar Taylor to move into the runner-up spot, and now we're going to have to take a look at lap times here as the 40 is clear into the 2nd spot. Does he have the car to run down Autumn Brooks? Dollerton looking for his first win on the season. He's got an incredible Cup Series career, including a championship in the inaugural season back in Season 1. But he is yet to win here in the Lite Series, his first full-time season in the entry out of Michael Norman Motorsports. His teammate Michael Turner has gone to victory lane this season, that being back at Las Vegas, but Dollerton has yet to really find the success over here on the Lite side, as coming into this race, Chris Dollerton finds himself 22nd in points. So as Autumn Brooks continues to lead, looking for her 2nd win on the season, 2nd road course win on the season as well, following up her victory back at Watkins Glen. We are nearing the halfway point of this race, and after that first cycle of pit stops, this is where your playoff contenders are currently being scored. Skylar Taylor is still the highest running of your postseason drivers in 3rd. Cam Wright Jr. currently sits 4th. Colin Grace is 7th. Kyle Langland in 10th. So 4 drivers currently inside of the top 10. You got to go down to 15th, where you find Cody Majoric. Roberta Crown Jr., who came in the points leader, is in 21st. Aubrey Powell in 23rd. Jordan Anderson in 24th. And then way down in the 31st position, that is dead last, is Eli Bright. I mentioned this at the pre-race. This is a round you do not want to start off the first playoff race below the cut line, as caution is out. And this will throw a spanner in the works. The yellow flag is going to wave for the first time this afternoon, just nearing the halfway point. This is going to bunch everybody back up. And I don't know what this is going to do as far as the fuel window now. They certainly can't make it the rest of the way. Even if they came to pit road here under this caution period, I think, let me just do a little quick math in my head, I think that this should get them all to the finish on one stop, though. This is a caution that saved any driver that was going to be right on the precipice of being a lap or two short after the final pit stop. But for Autumn Brooks, it evaporates her lead, and Chris Dollerton, who appeared to have one of the fastest cars there on this run, is now going to be right behind her along with Taylor, Cam Wright Jr., Wes McCoy, and others. Let's take a look at what brought out this yellow. The 38 of Cole Koibe was on the pit lane, so I would have to assume it was something to do with him, and it looks like we had a mechanical failure take place here. I mentioned how difficult this racetrack is, not just for the drivers, but for the race equipment. This is going through the carousel, and you see all of a sudden the engine goes south there on that Vitamin Water Toyota Supra right in front of a bunch of drivers. And that car was nowhere close to being able to make it around to get to pit road under its own power. Comes to a halt on the racetrack. Race officials, no choice. They had to throw the caution. That's a tough break there for Cole Koibe, who had cycled around to 13th place. Let's ride on board and let's take a listen to what we hear out of the engine of this machine. Well, interesting, you can hear the engine still droning, but the car starts decreasing in speed. So I'm not certain if that is indeed an engine issue. That could very well be an electrical issue. Maybe the voltage was draining on that machine. So potentially they might be able to get that issue remedied, get him back out there. However, that was back in the carousel. For those that don't know how the tow to pit road works, it basically takes where you're positioned on the racetrack, calculates how long it would take to get to your pit stall running pacing speed, which is 50 miles per hour, and that is how long your tow lasts for. I'm not 100% certain if they would be able to get the allotted time on the tow cleared, remedy the problem, and get him back out there before the field comes around to lap him. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, maybe the best news for him is this is a lengthy road course, so it takes them a while to complete a pace lap, giving them maybe the time necessary to keep him on the lead lap. He'll obviously lose a ton of track position, though. He'll drop from 13th back to the rear of the field for this restart, if indeed he's able to catch up in time. So Autumn Brooks has led 9 of the completed 10 laps. The only other driver that has led was Jack Mitchell during that cycle of green flag pit stops. Pit road is open. I think you're going to see everybody on pit lane here. We'll see now if Autumn Brooks and her team can hold serve and keep her in the top position. This is the closest anybody has been to the rear deck lid of that Judas Priest Spider-Man Mazda out of Garage 55 since the initial drop of the green flag. Yeah, nobody is staying out. Take the opportunity here while you can under caution to make this pit stop and set yourself up for the final pit stop of the day. Another thing here is we'll watch these pit stops taking place that makes it interesting is when is that final pit stop going to be, because the window is somewhat spread out in what type of strategy you could do. The median lap number that we kind of looked at there with that first cycle was 7 laps. We're going to be going back green, I believe, with 10 laps to go. So you could come to pit road 7 laps into this run. You could come to pit road 3 laps into this run if you wanted to. And look at the strategy differences. I believe all these drivers elected to go with right side tires only, and Michael Turner is going to take the race lead as a result. Mitchell will come out second, third Roberto Crown Jr., then Colin Grace, Cat Batson, your top five. Jordan Anderson sixth, and Autumn Brooks is now going to find herself back in seventh place. So strategy right out of the gate here. This says to me, these might be the drivers that would look to be pitting earlier on this final run to the checkers. They obviously may have not had enough time to get the car completely full of fuel, but bear in mind that caution came out about 3-4 laps after they had just been to pit road, so they didn't necessarily have to get the car full of fuel. They would just necessarily have to make 3 laps here after taking the green. They could then come to pit road, and if they then get the tank full of fuel, they are good to go the rest of the way. So interesting varying of strategies, and that now puts Michael Turner in the race lead for the first time this afternoon. And a couple of your playoff drivers went with this alternative strategy as well, including the points leader Roberto Crown Jr., Colin Grace, and Jordan Anderson. How will this pan out for them? We will have to wait and see. It did appear that they did get the 38 car of Cole Koibe done and dusted and sent on his way. I believe that he did remain on the lead lap, so we will have all 31 drivers still running, still on the lead lap here on this upcoming restart. Restart should be with 10 to go. We're waiting to see exactly where the lights go out on the Chevy Camaro pace car. I think it's probably going to be somewhere over near the carousel, maybe over in Kettle Bottoms. Normal road course cautions usually only have about 2 laps of pacing, 1 lap to bunch everybody up, open up pit road, and then the second lap to get them set to go back green. We talked about a number of drivers at the start of this race that came into the playoffs with a nothing-to-lose mentality. They're not battling for a championship. Michael Turner would be another of those drivers. Did not advance into the playoffs this season. He was, I think, the 3rd driver outside of a wild card spot at the conclusion of the regular season. 13th in points coming into this one. He's just looking for wins now. He's just looking to end out the season strong in his first full-time season for Michael Norman Motorsports. He got a victory very early on in his career, 3rd start at Las Vegas, and now looking to add a road course victory to his resume. Our 2 previous road course races, it was a Toyota and a Mazda that have won. Ford and Chevrolet have yet to win a road course race, and they currently hold the top 2 positions with Turner and Mitchell. By the way, guess who was that Toyota winner back at Sonoma? The driver that's going to start this race from 3rd, Roberto Crown Jr. And Autumn Brooks, of course, the other road course winner. As hold the phone here. Do we have a problem with the 18? I'm trying to figure out why we're stacked up double wide here. As I think the 18, Roberto Crown Jr. is coming to pit road. Unscheduled pit stop for the points leader. And I'm being told they didn't get the lug nuts tight. He's going to have to come down pit road, have them tighten that wheel. That's going to lose him a restarting position inside of the top 5. Costly, costly mistake there for Roberto Crown Jr. as we are back green. And I don't know why the pace car didn't come to pit road, but we're still green, we're good. Oh my gosh, we're fanning out here for turn 1 as Michael Turner will take the top spot. Colin Grace and Jordan Anderson, they were fanning out for 2nd and 5th. Grace will now tuck in line behind Mitchell for 3rd place, and now we're going to have to see about Autumn Brooks, who dominated the first third of this race. Mired back in 6th. Chris Dollarton, who's obviously got a very fast race car, right behind her in 7th. They're going to have to deal with some traffic here to work their way back up to the front. Skylar Taylor looking to driver's left here into the Moraine sweep against Chris Dollerton. Can't make it work. Telling you what, keep an eye on Jack Mitchell here tomorrow afternoon. Running in the playoffs on the Cup side and trying a little bit of alternative strategy here today. We saw him go the one lap further during the cycle of green flag pit stops. We saw him do the 2-tire strat to restart here in second. And this driver right here was looking like he was going to have a decent points day, to then looking like he was going to have a great points day, to now looking like he is going to have a horrible points day. I'll tell you what, that regular season championship, those 15 extra bonus points are going to look like a godsend for Roberto Crown Jr. if he continues to run back in the final position, 31st here, when the results are official. Michael Turner has not been able to pull away from Jack Mitchell. Remember when we saw Autumn Brooks start this race from the pole position, she opened up 4.5 seconds back to the second place positioning. But that's not the case for our current race leader, Michael Turner, as Jack Mitchell is still right there. Colin Gray still within striking distance. Same for Kat Batson. First time Autumn Brooks has had to deal with traffic here this afternoon. Currently in the 6th position with Chris Dollerton right behind. Now for Autumn Brooks, Chris Dollerton, Skylar Taylor, and others, they should be able to go a little bit further on fuel here on this run since they took 4 tires. That would have been a longer amount of time in their pit stall, a little bit longer for them to be able to engage the fuel can. For the drivers that went with 2 tires, they would have spent a little less time, which means a little less fuel. So we would more than likely see our top 5 come to pit road a little bit sooner than 6th place on back. Not saying that drivers behind the top 5 wouldn't maybe come down pit road on the same lap as some of these front runners, but just saying that these drivers here would probably have to pit sooner than others. Colin Grace tried to complete the pass on Jack Mitchell through turn 5, not able to do so. Going to swing wide here off of 7, heading for 8, and is going to complete that pass. Nice move there by the Exalta Toyota out of Haas Racing. One of 2 entries out of that organization battling for the championship this season, Aubrey Powell being the other. And I don't know if there might be a little bit of concern in that Haas Racing camp with the fact that we saw the electrical problem out of the Cole Koibe car. If you're one of the 2 playoff contenders out of that organization. But for right now, Colin Grace doing a great job. Up to 2nd, and now going to try to hunt down Michael Turner. Remember, we mentioned it. Same as the Cup Series playoff system. If you win today as a playoff contender, guess what? You go to Nashville Superspeedway and Dover, worry-free, you're locked into the round of 7. Colin Grace realizes that, as they've just now caught the pace car, who will now make the dive onto pit road. Hopefully we won't have any need for him for the rest of the day. Colin tried to make a move for the lead on Michael Turner. Off the final corner up the hill, lost some ground, and now Jack Mitchell pulls alongside driver's left. Going to try and take the 2nd spot back. He will do so. Grace falls back to 3rd. Another driver that I'm noticing is a bit on the move. Well, was on the move and just gave the position back was Cam Wright Jr. He got around Skylar Taylor. He had the pass completed on Autumn Brooks to move up into, that would have been 7th. But then Autumn passed him back in turn 2. Chris Dollerton has gotten around Autumn. He's now the highest running of the drivers on 4 tires as he will look to go to work on Jordan Anderson. Remember, we saw Dollerton making a number of passes just after the cycle of green flag pit stops. It's obviously got a very good car, able to set drivers up and make passes for position. We'll see what he can do now here with Jordan Anderson and Cat Batson on worn out left side tires in front of him. What can he do with these 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles? Top 3 have been able to break away from 4th place Cat Batson. Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Turner, Mitchell, and Grace. Window is now open this time by for them to be able to make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop. So how soon do we see some of these drivers that went with the alternative strategy under our only caution so far? I think Turner might be coming to pit road. So here it is. Windows open. Coming to 7 laps to go. We know you can make it 7 laps if you got the tank full. We know you can make it 8 laps. Looks like both Cat Batson and Jordan Anderson are coming in this lap as well. So this is the final pit stop for these drivers. Jack Mitchell going to inherit the race lead for the 2nd time today. His 2nd lap led. Colin Grace also going to stay out. No surprise to see most of the other drivers that took 4 tires staying out. They can go a little bit further. But do we see Mitchell and Grace come to pit road this time by? And the only thing I can think of, if you kind of look at those 3 drivers that came to pit road right there, is they're looking for the tire advantage here on this final stint. I mean, my thought process with Michael Turner is he is thinking, if I come to pit road now, make sure that I'm going to be able to make it on fuel, turn some really good out laps on these fresh tires, I will more than likely cycle back to the front for the close of this race once everybody makes their final pit stop. In a sense, kind of leapfrogging any potential undercut that Mitchell or Grace or Anderson or Batson might have tried to do. Autumn Brooks has now gotten herself around both Cam Wright Jr. and Chris Dollerton, moving back up to what would now be the 3rd position, highest running of those with 4 fresh tires. And look at how she was able to gap this ongoing battle now between Dollerton and Cam Wright Jr. So the 60 car has kind of found another gear like what she had in the beginning stages of this race, and now she is also looking at lap times to counter Michael Turner. Clean racetrack in front of her as well does not hurt. Let's see if Jack Mitchell and Colin Grace they can go a little further. Projected they can go a little further, but do they throw out the parachute and pit this time? Nope, they're going to stay out a little bit longer. I believe for these drivers, they are going to be able to go maybe 2 more laps before they're going to have to come to pit lane. That is provided that they were able to get the tanks completely full of fuel. I would say for most of the drivers here, they're around that same number where they would have to come to pit road somewhere between laps 18 to 20. Let's drop to the back of the pack here. There is Anderson, there is Batson, and there is Michael Turner, who is hoping that this strategy works out in his favor when everything cycles around. Let's take a look and see what his lap time is this time by. I believe that previous lap was his up to speed after coming off of pit road. Let's see what he runs here. Does he at least run in the 214s? Oh, wow. No, he does not. 253.790. Was that his up to speed? That might have actually been his up to speed lap. We'll check back in on him as Mike Tellier makes his final pit stop of the day. Roberto Crown Jr., I think they're still going to have to come to pit road, despite the fact they had to come to pit lane there when we were getting ready for the restart with having that loose wheel. So they've shot themselves in the foot essentially here. Ooh, wow, look how wide Jack Mitchell's going to take the carousel there. Didn't help him on entry, but look at the launch he was able to get on exit here. trying to open up some distance back to Colin Grace. That last time by, Mitchell ran in the low 215s, almost a 215 flat. Autumn Brooks ran a low 216 as she's now being hunted down by Cam Wright Jr. And we will check in momentarily with the 0-2 of Michael Turner. If he's able to turn a 214, even a mid to high 214, that's going to be pretty good for him in terms of how everything's going to cycle around. Colin Grace hits pit road from second. Final pit stop of the afternoon for that playoff contender. It's like most of the drivers that went with the 4-tire strategy, they're going to go a little bit further. Jack Mitchell going further as well. Mitchell's just trying everything today. He's experimenting in preparation for tomorrow's Cup Series race. We saw him run the lap longer during the first green flag pit stop cycle. We saw him be one of a half dozen drivers that went with the 2-tire strategy under our only caution, and now he's looking to run long here on the second cycle of pit stops. I love this. Nothing to lose mentality, devil may care attitude, experiment. You're not running for points here in this series. Certainly you would love to win, but hey, if you win, great. If it doesn't work out, well, then you can put that into your playbook for tomorrow afternoon when it really does matter with a Cup Series championship and advancement into the round of 12 on the line. And Mitchell's stats, this being his 11th start in the Lite Series in that all-star car of Adrenaline Motorsports, they've not been all that great. He's only scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s in his previous 10 starts, an average finishing position of 18.9. So this is without a doubt one of the best performances we've seen out of him in his Lite Series career. And in doing so, he's experimenting. He's testing things out. He's not trying to have the dominant car here today. He's not trying to lead all the laps. He's trying things different, and so far, they are working out. We'll probably see him on pit road this next time by. I want to find Turner again, and Turner is up to speed. Lap was a 216.6. That is not ideal. That is slower than what Mitchell is running right now on older tires. And Autumn Brooks eclipsed that as she just ran in the high 215s that last time by. So for Michael Turner, I don't know if he's going to cycle out to the front. Mitchell's going to stay out yet another lap. I believe this is going to be the last lap that he'll be able to stay out before having to come to pit road. Same for all the rest of these drivers. So credit to the 0-1 team in being able to make sure, even on a 2-tire strategy, that they were able to get the tank full of fuel. I think a big reason for that was because Mitchell ran long on that first stint. Because of that, he came to pit road a little bit later than others. They were able to spend less time on pit road getting the tank full of fuel. And so there was only about, 2 green flag laps he ran before they came back down pit road under that caution. For other drivers, they ran anywhere from 3 to 4 laps, so they would have had to have spent a little bit of extra time on pit lane making sure that the tank was full. So all of this alternative strategy here for Jack Mitchell has worked out in his favor, both in terms of tires and in terms of the amount of time that that fuel tank is engaged. And why is this important for him as well? Well, look at the gap he's got back to Autumn Brooks. He knows that more than likely he and the 60 are going to have to come to pit road on the same lap, which means that the gap he currently holds, which scoring currently shows at 4.4 seconds, could potentially hold serve. They'll be on equal footing in terms of tires. Maybe. I mean, here's the thing. You're Mitchell. You came down pit road. You took on 2 tires. You're going to have to come down pit road for a splash. If you're Autumn Brooks or Cam Wright Jr., do you just come down, top off, don't take any tires? Mitchell, I think, is going to have to take lefts. But do you maybe, since you took 4 on the previous pit stop, do you maybe not take any tires and gas and go? If you're Autumn Brooks or Cam Wright Jr.? There's so many varying strategies that could come into play here. We're going to have to see how they all culminate. Let's check in again on Michael Turner, as it looks like more drivers have hit pit lane. I believe Aubrey Powell has made a pit stop, and she's currently being scored ahead of Michael Turner. I don't know if that would have been an exchange potentially for the race lead or not. Daniel Voiles also made a pit stop. David Dixon. These drivers might have gone with fuel only, now that I think of it. Colin Grace is way up ahead of Michael Turner, so I think that would be who you'd have to look at to maybe cycle to the front or at least be up in the conversation for the race lead, as here comes everybody else onto pit road. Mitchell is in, Brooks, Cam Wright Jr. Let's watch this. Let's see if they jack up the car here for Mitchell. Yeah, they're going to give him at least right side tires. I think if you're any of these other drivers, you go with fuel only or 2. Let's see. Down and away is Mitchell. Gas only for Autumn, Brooks, and Cam Wright Jr. And look at how much ground they're going to gain. Look at Colin Grace. Grace is going to pass them all. Colin Grace may have just cycled to the front. Reggie Fogelman did stay out an extra lap, so for Reggie Fogelman, it would be less time spent on pit road for a gas and go. We're also being told, and I don't believe we have the split cam footage available, that Jordan Anderson came down pit lane and instead of pulling into his pit box, actually made the right-hand turn into the garage area, is done for the day. Anderson will finish this race in 31st position after coming into the playoffs in the 5th seed. So another driver that will head into Nashville Super Speedway way low below the cut line. We'll have to wait and see how far Fogelman can go. Another Cup Series regular trying some alternative strategies here today in the Light Series race. But if Fogelman cannot make it, Colin Grace and this 27 team may have played the strategy to perfection and may have just worked out a scenario that is going to lock them into the next round of the playoffs. Fogelman is in. We'll have to follow the 27 of Colin Grace. Can Grace bypass Fogelman on pit road? Look how far back Colin Grace is right now. Just now making his way through the final couple of corners before climbing the hill. Can Fogelman and that team get the gas and go done quickly enough to keep him out in front? Watch left side of your screen for that 5-hour Energy Toyota. Fogelman still on pit road, now down and away. There was the exchange for the top position. Colin Grace is now out in front. Was one of those half dozen drivers that went with the gas, or went with the 2-tire strategy. And honestly, I would not be surprised if Colin Grace may have gone with gas and go. Was on the same type of a strategy call as Jack Mitchell, but pitted earlier than the 0-1 did. Autumn Brooks is in second. This race is not over yet. Brooks might be able to close in on Colin Grace, make a fight for this victory. Cam Wright Jr. right now in the 3rd spot with Jack Mitchell in 4th, and Jackson Haywood has worked his way up to 5th. How impressive is that? Jackson started this race from 22nd. Will have a net gain of at least 16 positions at the conclusion of this one. Skylar Taylor is now going to be in 6th. 7th will be Fogelman after the pit stop. 8th place, Brody Kupski, teammate Dave Smith will be in 9th, and Wes McCoy currently holding down the final spot inside of the top 10. All 3 Adrenaline Motorsports cars currently up inside of the top 10. Colin Gray started from the 9th position in this one. That previous lap, Or no, I was going to say that previous lap, the only lap that Colin Grace has led, but Grace didn't even lead that previous lap. Fogelman led it on pit road. Coming around to see the white flag is going to be the first lap that Colin Grace has led all afternoon. Well, Colin Grace, it was after the All-Star break. All of a sudden, they started putting the pieces together. Found victory lane at Hillside, ran consistently throughout the second half of the regular season, was in the conversation down the home stretch to maybe be the regular season champion. Now sees the white flag displayed over the hood of that Toyota Supra. One lap away from locking himself into the round of 7. Going into Nashville, going into Dover, a couple of concrete giants, worry-free. That last time by, Autumn Brooks was a little bit faster, about a 10.5 faster than Colin Grace, but the scoring shows 1.8 seconds was the gap at the start-finish line. Colin Grace is going to have a major slip up here for Autumn Brooks to even be able to close, let alone set up for a pass. A couple weeks ago in our regular season finale, we had our third multi-time winner on the season in Juan Garcia, not having to wait long here. Whether Colin Grace or Autumn Brooks wins this thing, for both of them, it would be their second win on the season. And Brooks had a really strong run there into that corner, but you saw her overdrive over that rumble strip, trying everything she can to close the gap up on the 27, have a shot for this thing. Using all the racetrack and then some, Colin Grace just looking to hit his marks. Brooks obviously has the faster race car, but Colin Grace has the track position advantage. Final time through Canada Corner. We knew this was going to be a race of strategy. I don't think we knew just how good a race it would be strategically. Colin Grace, last couple of corners. Brooks, one last charge. Can't get close enough. Up the hill, headed for home. Next round of the playoffs awaits Colin Grace. His second win on the season is a big one, as he will take playoff race number 1 at Road America. Brooks will cross second. Cam Wright Jr., solid points day for that playoff contender in third. Jack Mitchell and Jackson Haywood are going to complete your top 5, and now we await the fallout of the remainder of the finishing results. We know one driver that will be locked into the round of 7. Who are the other drivers that are going to find themselves at least up in a favorable scenario with Nashville Superspeedway on the horizon? Roberto Crown Jr., what a tough race for him. After that costly mistake, the loose wheel drew him back to pit road. Him crossing the line will now make the race standings official, as he was the last driver running. And here is a look at how it all concluded. Reggie Fogelman played some alternative strategy with a late gas and go. That will get him 6th. Brody Kupski and Dave Smith not too far behind their team owner Jack Mitchell, as all 3 of the Adrenaline Motorsports Chevrolets will finish in the top 8. Wes McCoy brings it home in 9th. And we saw Michael Turner be one of the first drivers onto pit lane. That strategy did not work out for him. His lap times were not all that great after he made his final pit stop, but he will still finish in the 10th spot. Dylan Young brings home in 11th. Aubrey Powell in 12th, another of our playoff drivers. Juan Garcia, another playoff driver, in 13th. David Dixon in 14th after he spent a good portion of this race mired in the back of the pack, so good strategy gained him some track position late. And Cody Majoric, another playoff driver, will finish in 15th place. What about the rest of our playoff contenders, though? We start to get into the dangerous territory now of drivers that could find themselves below the cut line heading into our next playoff race. Get it all the way down before you find Eli Bright who'll finish in 24th. I don't know what happened with Kyle Langland, but he fell to finish in 26th. And then Roberto Crown Jr., we ended up seeing him have that issue where they had to come down and tighten the loose wheel coming to green. 29th for him. Skylar Taylor going to finish a lap down. I don't know what happened to the 29 car. But Taylor going to finish off the lead lap in 30th. And Jordan Anderson, as we documented when they came to pit road, he went to the garage area. He was in line potentially for a top 5 run. He was running, I think, in the 5th position when that final green flag pit stop cycle was beginning. And he's going to finish dead last. Look at our final 3 finishers, all playoff contenders. Roberto Crown Jr. was 1st, Jordan Anderson was 5th, and Skylar Taylor was 8th in the point standings coming into this first playoff race. Undoubtedly, I think we're going to see all 3 of those drivers below the 7th in the standings cut line heading into our next race. So they have some work to do. One driver, though, that has no work to do, at least until we eventually get to the first race of the round of 7 at Arizona, and that is Colin Grace. The victory here, 2nd of his career, locks him into the round of 7. He will be one of 7 drivers that we know are going to be moving on to compete for the championship, and now goes into Nashville and Dover completely worry-free. Congratulations to Colin Grace on the victory. I'll tell you what, I cannot wait for tomorrow afternoon's Cup Series race. Always seems like whenever we have these barn burner of Lite Series events, it just whets the appetite for the Cup Series side, and we've got 16 drivers in that series that are looking to advance into the next round of the playoffs. What type of varying strategy will we see in that one off the heels of our first playoff race last week at Gateway? Cannot wait to find out. Thank you all for tuning into this race this afternoon. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and become a part of the crew today. We have shown you full finisher results. You're now looking at your point standings as a result of this one. Keep in mind, Colin Grace is locked into the next round. Take a look and see where the other drivers are in relation to that 7th position in the standings. As we will see you guys for our next race at Nashville Super Speedway here on the Lite Series side. If I'm not mistaken, I believe, let me just double check here on our schedule. I believe that is next week, both the Cup and the Lite Series drivers doubleheader at Nashville Super Speedway. So no off week just yet for the Lite Series drivers. We will see you guys next weekend as we continue on the Season 2 Duracell Ultra Lite Series playoffs. But until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.